What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and on this video we are going to be looking at the Brooks Hyperion 2. Now before we get any further into this review, I do want to tell you that this is going to be somewhat of a love fest. I have really enjoyed this shoe, and when I tell you about it, I think you're going to really like it too. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get started with those disclosures. This video is in collaboration with my friends over at Roadrunner Sports. Roadrunner Sports was good enough to send me this pair of the Brooks Hyperion 2 for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say, they don't have any editorial input, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. With that said, you can pick up a pair of the Brooks Hyperion 2 at Roadrunner Sports for $140. That's right, $140. And I think that $140 makes this shoe extremely well priced. You are getting a lot at that price point. Now, Brooks claims that the Hyperion 2 has 26 in the heel, 18 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. And there's a couple things to talk about that stack height, because last year's Hyperion, which I have right here, this had 22 in the heel and 14 in the forefoot. So the new Hyperion has an extra 4mm of stack height. Now obviously with that 26-18 stack height, Brooks is not counting something. They are probably not counting their removable insole, and I doubt they're counting the outsole rubber. It's probably just that foam. So on the spec sheets that Brooks sent me for the Hyperion 2, it only had that stack height, the one I just told you. However, I also have the Brooks Hyperion Max 2, and on that shoe they gave me two stack heights. They gave me the stack heights, which are similar to this in that they are missing something, and then they gave me the full stack heights. The difference between the two are about 6mm. So if we just use the same addition that I got from the numbers for the Hyperion Max 2 and bring them over to the Hyperion 2, we now have a potential stack height of 32 in the heel and 24 in the forefoot. And I'd say that's pretty accurate, within a millimeter or two. And the reason I'm explaining this and making it into something is because last year, probably my favorite shoe of the year was the Brooks Hyperion Max. I happen to have that pair right down here. I absolutely love that shoe. And funnily enough, the Hyperion Max last year had 32 in the heel and 24 in the forefoot. So with the increase in stack height of the Brooks Hyperion, we've made it very similar to last year's Hyperion Max. Now, I will have a separate video reviewing the Hyperion Max 2, but I just wanted to show you the similarities between the Hyperion 2 and the old Hyperion Max. But I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the midsole. First, the weight. Brooks claims that a US men's size 9 would tip the scale at 6.8 ounces or 193 grams. This shoe is pretty light. And however, in my size, a US men's size 13, it's a little heavier. In my size, it now tips the scale at 8.5 ounces or 241 grams. Still, crazy light for my size. And I think what Brooks has done now by making these changes, and I think these changes are definitely for the better, I think what we have now is a very light daily trainer. So what's another lightweight daily trainer? Well, for me, it's the Mach 6. And in my size, the Mach 6 weighs 282 grams. And this is 241 grams in my size. So guys, it's a light shoe. Okay, let's start at the top. Let's work our way down. I'm going to hold this up. You can see this padding around the heel collar. It is nice and padded. It's not overly padded because it's not like a premium daily trainer, but there is enough padding where it is super comfortable when you put your foot in. The stepping comfortable is nice. We have a semi-rigid heel counter. I can almost press it down. If I really put some force on it, I can press it in. So we don't have a rigid plastic piece as the heel counter in the back, and we have a nice heel flare right on the top. I didn't experience any heel slip in this shoe. The lockdown was really good. The Hyperion 2 is using minimal overlays. On the medial side, we've got Brooks spelled out. We've got the Brooks logo on the lateral side. There is an underlay coming around the toe box just to keep that upper off your foot. Got some reinforcement along the eyelet chain, and that's about it. It really is minimal as far as overlays and everything goes. Oh, there is a little something right here at the back. Looks like that's some faux suede or something, but that's it. The upper is a breathable engineered mesh, and even though it seems like all engineered meshes are described by brands as breathable, the engineered mesh used on the Brooks Hyperion 2 seems to really be breathable. It's not very thick. It is quite rigid, so it holds its shape well, but obviously with a shoe this light, it makes sense that the upper is going to be fairly lightweight and breathable. Now, also saving a lot of weight is the tongue. The tongue is definitely more on the up-tempo to race day shoe kind of tongue. It's very thin. We do have some padding centered down the middle, and then there is some padding at the top of the tongue that just kind of spreads out, because that's where you're going to tie the laces. That's where you're going to get a little bit of lace bite if it happens. I didn't experience any lace bite with the Hyperion 2, but to be honest, I usually don't. We have one lace loop right in the middle, and the tongue is gusseted on the medial side. It was more than enough to keep that tongue in place on the run. Okay, so now we're coming down to the midsole, and this is where Brooks has made a pretty big change. Or I shouldn't say a change, they've made an update, because the midsole on the Hyperion 2 is now DNA Flash V2. Now, DNA Flash V2 is the same foam that they use in the Hyperion Elite 4. I love that shoe too. So I'm really a fan of how the DNA Flash V2 rides. I just think it's very light, it's very poppy. It's just a good all-around foam. Now, it is DNA Flash, so it's their same nitrogen-infused foam. It is lighter than the original Flash, and it's 10% more responsive. Or so Brooks says. Obviously, I couldn't measure this in a lab, but I can say that it does feel more responsive than regular Flash. If we come down to the outsole, you can see we've got a lot of road track rubber, especially up here on the forefoot. comfort, got it in the key places on the back. Now this rubber on my lateral heel side, it seems to be holding up pretty well, and there's a good amount of rubber back here. So if you're a heel striker, that's a very good thing. The rubber on your heel is not going to wear down too quickly. In fact, mine seems to be holding up quite well. There's actually really nothing to speak of. I can see a little grazing on the rubber. We can see it's a little dirty where I've been running in it, but overall nothing to speak of. Now, the Hyperion 2, it's the same use case scenario as the first Hyperion. It's made for running faster, right? It's the shoe you're going to take out for those tempo runs, for those intervals if you don't want to run in a plated shoe. However, where I think Brooks has really succeeded with the Hyperion 2 is by adding that stack height, by putting the more premium foam, the DNA Flash V2, into it and keeping the price at $140. Because now what we have with a Hyperion 2 is a shoe that you can run fast in. It's got a nice comfortable step-in feel. We've got enough padding around the heel collar where it still feels fairly plush, and we've got a good stack of midsole foam that's going to be very protective. So protective, in fact, that I think you could use this shoe as a daily trainer. And that is why I am most excited about the Hyperion 2, because it seems to me when we think about daily trainers, or the shoes that get marketed as daily trainers, and for this video, because we're talking about the Brooks Hyperion 2, we'll keep it in the family, the Brooks Ghost, for example. Now, if you are a runner and you're going out and you're buying the Brooks Ghost, what you're getting is a lot more of everything, right? You're getting a lot more padding, you're getting a little more stack height, you're getting a less responsive foam, but you are getting a lot more outsole rubber. So that's what you're sacrificing if you decide to go with the Hyperion 2 over the Brooks Ghost. However, if you're only using your shoes for running, like you're not just wearing them around town, I think the Hyperion 2 represents a much better value, and it's going to cover a much wider range of runs. Because in my testing of this shoe, I did mainly keep it for workouts. So intervals, tempo run, but I also took it out on easy runs. Also, before I went out and I did my workouts, I did have to warm up. After those workouts, I would keep the shoes on and go for a cool down. So I've run a lot of easy miles in the Hyperion 2 also. Oh, one more thing. I know because we have updated to DNA Flash V2 and we have 4mm more stack height, it's also a softer ride. So for me, the Hyperion, the original Hyperion, it rode pretty firm, which was fantastic when you want to run fast because you get that road feel, it feels a little more responsive. The Hyperion 2, you still get that responsiveness, except it's not such a harsh ride. So guys, I don't know. I know a lot of my reviews are very positive. My reviews tend to skew on the positive side, or at least I don't harp on the negatives. And this review has been overly positive, but that's because this shoe works very well for me, and I've been excited to run in it. Oh, I didn't even talk about the laces. Guys, this is a daily trainer and it has these serrated laces. You know, the laces that you usually see on a race day shoe. So there is no problem with laces coming untied. And by that, I mean, there's no way these are going to come untied. They're serrated and they lock in once you tie them down. I think Brooks as a brand can often be thought of as a little boring, especially if we think about the Ghost or the Glycerin, but then they drop gems like the Hyperion 2, the Hyperion Max 2 is also excellent, and the Hyperion Elite 4 is fantastic. So if you are looking for an up-tempo daily trainer, one that you can run easy but will really feel good going fast, I think the Hyperion 2 is definitely worth a look. And again, I'll place links in the show notes below in case you want to pick up a pair for yourself from Roadrunner Sports. And with that, it's Matt B. This has been my review of the Brooks Hyperion 2. This is already on my short list for the best shoe of 2024. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.